Hello and welcome, everybody. Welcome to the No Name Music Cast. My name's Tim, and this is
Joy.
And we've decided to start the episodes a little bit different going forward. You know, we're just trying to mix it up in the world of the No Name Music Cast. So the last episode, I premiered a section called Ask Joy. And what we've done is we've put that out on our various social channels, our Twitter and our Facebook page. And we have got some questions for Joy. So I'm going to ask her some questions. I'm going to pick the questions. We've had more than I can actually ask in this episode. But I'm going to pick a few questions, and then Joy can give her answers.
Okay.
All right. So this first question comes from Gillian Bond, Gilbo, who's a listener of the podcast, obviously. And she wants to know, which UK artist is Joy's favourite that I have introduced to you? And that doesn't include like Spice Girls or something that you knew about. Something that's completely new that I've told you about and then you've gone and checked out.
I wish I could remember their names, but the ones who sing the Rabbit song.
Oh, Chaz and Dave.
That's what it is. Yeah. Those are probably my favorites of the ones that you've made me listen to. I say made like you held a gun to me, but the ones you've had me listen to. Yeah, I would say that one's probably my top because out of all of them, they had the most songs that I liked.
Okay, well, as we discussed before, they are a British institution. And probably nobody knows them in the United States. And I often would think when I was driving along the road listening to Chaz and Dave, I was probably the only person in the entire country doing that. But now I know that you possibly might be listening to Ain't No Pleasing You or Margate or London Girls or something like that.
It pops up on my playlist, like, you know, because Google listens to everything we say, Tim. Mm-hmm. And so anytime me and Tim talk about something on the podcast, it slowly will stop popping up on my playlist. And so they come through a few times now.
Okay. Well, that's good. And then she has a follow-up question. She says, what's your favorite UK trivia that I've taught you?
The hospital radio.
Ah.
I don't know why, but that strikes me as... So if you go back, I have no clue what episode it was. It was towards the beginning. Tim explained to me there is a radio station that plays at the hospital. What did you say it's called?
Yeah, it's got just hospital radio. Each hospital typically has its own radio station, and it's normally staffed by volunteers. And then the music is piped into like headsets and stuff that you can plug into. So if you're on the ward, you can plug in and they play dedications, and I think they rebroadcast some commercial radio content, but a lot of the programming they have is unique to them.
And see, the reason that struck me as odd is when Tim first told me it, I had an image of just like when you're at the grocery store, there's music playing over the loudspeaker. I thought that's what he meant for like, I'd be like, oh my gosh, if I was just like going through surgery, I don't know if I'd want to hear some hospital. And he's like, no, Joy, you have to put headphones on. And I was like, oh, okay. So yeah, that was my most favorite fact. I don't know why.
Yeah, well, there we are. And a lot of DJs, UK DJs, got their start on hospital radio as well.
Yeah, I thought that was cool too. I mean, I guess it's probably a volunteer gig, so that makes sense.
Sure, absolutely. Okay, well, I have another question from Megan Osmond. She wants to know, what was the first music poster to go up on your bedroom wall?
Oh, I'm trying to place all the music posters. I had tons. I was one of those people who thought that every inch of my wall needed to have a poster on it when I was a kid, Tim. Mm-hmm. So it's hard to know. There was a Doors one. For sure there was a Jim Morrison one. That was one of the first. And then I had one of the iconic Backstreet Boys, I think in the Larger Than Life video. Mm-hmm. So it's probably either that pretty much sums me up. It's either the Doors or specifically Jim Morrison or Backstreet Boys. That sums up about the catalog of my music and how it varies. But it would probably be one of those two.
Well, I'm glad that even at that very early age, you sort of had the classics and then you had the contemporary, even then.
And of course, my father's name is Jim Morrison, so that's an on-running going joke. My best friend had like a Jim Morrison bumper sticker on the back of her car for a long time. My dad would always be like, "Oh, look, I'm on the back of your car." Dad joke.
And when those posters were going up, what kind of age was you?
The Backstreet Boys, I was probably like 8 or 9, maybe 10. I don't remember before that. It would have probably been Barney or something before that, because I did sing. So was Barney a UK thing or is it only an American thing, Tim?
But what with is that pink elephant thing?
Purple dinosaur.
Yes, pink elephant. Purple dinosaur. There we are. Well, I'm sure it was a UK thing. I mean, I remember it being around before, but I mean, it wasn't a thing when I was growing up. But I'm sure it was a UK thing too.
Well, I was a connoisseur of the Barney cleanup song. I used to sing it when I would clean up my room. I think my parents were using it as a way to get me to clean my room up. But, neither here nor there. Barney was probably the predecessors to the Backstreet Boys and the Doors. And then there may have been, I used to cut magazines out, like just random things and hang them up on my wall. So it's hard to tell what was all up there.
No.
I was that person.
There you go. And in fact, Megan has another question for you, which we can probably get in. What is the song that always brings you joy? The one that you can put on at any time and it's like, boom, you're happy.
Boom, I'm happy. Well, I'm trying not to think. There's a few, but the one that probably brings me the most joy, and this is probably going to sound really weird, is Quiet Riot's Bang Your Head. It's my go-to song to blare, and that just makes me super happy. And that sounds really weird because it's not exactly what you think when you think of that. Like you're expecting me to pick something that's like speaks to me, but no, that one's probably it too. I always say Bodhi and Rasputin's up there too, but we talk about that one a lot. So I'm going to go with Bang Your Head.
Well, because that is, as we've spoken before, that is completely factually accurate as well.
Mm-hmm. So there we go. There's my pick.
Fantastic. And I had one other question. I was just trying to find it. I
got a lot of questions.
Phil has just put a question.
Oh, Lord. What did Phil say? I'm scared for his question.
This is live. They're coming in live. Well, here's a quick one. Marley Royal wants to know, how much do you and Charlie spend annually on Funko Pops? So
that is my niece, and she is an avid listener of the podcast. Good thing we keep the PG around here. But she knows my house. For those who don't know, my house is full of Funkos. I asked Charlie this question, and because I was trying to figure out like how one day, like he said, anywhere from probably around $2,000 a year. Okay. Depending on what comes live, but he also resells a lot of them too, so it's hard to tell. But Charles's guess was $2,000.
Yeah, but it's more a kind of buying, sell. So there may be some money spent, but there's going to be some money earned. So maybe the whole thing cancels itself out.
Well, see, in theory, that's how I'm convinced to buy them, but it's more like buy, sell one, Tim. Buy, sell one. That's Charlie's theory is he's going to sell more than he does.
And this is the last question before we wrap this section up. So This was Phil. This is live. Phil Reese just came in. I was just going through the questions that I was about to answer, and I saw this one. He asked another question, but I'm going to go with this. It says, who would win in a fight, a British badger or a US raccoon, and why?
Oh, God. Well, I think it depends on, okay. So when I think of British badger, I just had like an instinct of thinking like if you're fighting on the streets, because I feel like a British badger would be like in downtown London. So like if you're taking to the streets and you're in like a city area, I'll take the badger. But if you're in the country, the raccoons around here, Tim, they get into some weird stuff. So if they were in the country, I think the raccoon would win in America.
Yeah, I would go with the raccoon. If you had a badger and a raccoon in the squared circle, as it were, my money would be on the raccoon.
Well, I have an image of like a badger like pulling out a knife, like it's a knife fight, but I don't. They wouldn't need to. They're badgers.
I mean, badgers typically are armed. I will tell you that.
I mean, they're actually really ravenous, but raccoons around here get into some weird stuff. So there's no telling. You might have like a moonshine raccoon or something.
How about a moonshine raccoon versus a honey badger?
Honey badgers are terrifying, so I'm going honey badger. Do you see some of those videos, Tim?
Yeah, you have like honey badger and like a lion or something, and the honey badger wins.
Yeah. So if the badger that is British is a honey badger, then yes, that one would win.
There
But
we
if
go.
it's a moonshine raccoon, they're taking it.
Well, there we go. That's Ask Joy. We'll continue to send in your questions for Joy, and we will ask her. And the more random the question, the better.
I know. As soon as you said Phil's name, I was like, oh gosh, what am I getting myself into?
Okay, so we're going to get into the topic this week, and this is my topic. Now, I had another topic picked out, and I might save that for a few weeks' time. Okay. But I was listening back to the episode that just posted, and I thought, you know what, I might do this. And I've been thinking of doing this one for a while, so I thought I took a last-minute decision of changing my topic, and here we are. Okay. So this week, we're going to go over the 1991 MTV Music Video Awards.
Ooh, that's a fun one. We talked a little bit about some of it on here before.
Yeah, absolutely. So I assume you didn't see the 1991 MTV Music Video Awards when it came out.
I was one. So no, I don't. I mean, if I did, I can't tell you. Like I said, I was on Barty World at that time, but I have seen bits and pieces and some of the famous stuff now as an adult on the YouTubes. Yeah.
So I remember seeing it. I was 30 years old or something when this. I
thought you were 72, Tim. Remember
something like that. And it was a pivotal moment for me because we had satellite TV before anyone else I knew had satellite TV, and we had MTV Europe. And MTV Europe was a completely separate station to MTV US, but they carried a lot of the US programming. And the MTV Music Video Awards, they would show it later on in the day, recorded. But what they would do is they'd show them live. Okay. So because of the time difference, and because it started at 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock or something like that, I stayed up all night. And it started at midnight or 2 o'clock in the morning.
It'd be like 1 a.m. for you.
Yes, something like that. It was very late. But I remember staying up all night to watch it. And what interested me the most is I'd heard that Van Halen were going to open it.
Okay.
So I stayed up specifically for that. And I think towards the end, I probably fell asleep on the sofa. But it was really pivotal for me because I was getting into playing guitar. A lot of the bands that were on here I'd heard of, maybe hadn't actually seen them yet. I was starting to buy US guitar magazines and learning about all that different kind of music. And my tastes were changing away from top 40 pop, which is what I'd normally listen to, into more kind of hard rock, guitar orientated music. So it came at that time. And certainly the Van Halen performance, which I'm going to come on to in a minute, was pivotal for me because I saw the guitar that Eddie Van Halen was playing, and that later on became my main guitar.
Oh, yeah, you've talked about that before.
Exactly. So what I'm going to do, first things first, I'm going to go through the live performances that went on at the MTV Music Video Awards, and we can talk about each one in turn. And then as we have time in the episode, we'll go through some of the awards that were handed out too. It was broadcast on September the 5th, 1991, which was a Thursday. And I said, that's the day I stayed up. Obviously, I had school the next day, so that didn't seem to matter. I probably just didn't go in. It was fine.
I mean, I was like 3 months past a year old, so, you know.
And the awards took place at the Universal Amphitheater in Los Angeles, or as it's now known, Harry Potter World. Which
I'm okay with. I still want to go get some butterbeer, but you know.
And interestingly, it was hosted by Arsenio Hall.
I always he's the one who did the Gong Show, right? Or what was it? No, the comedy show.
Wasn't he on in Living Color? I think. And then he had his own chat show.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah. He had his own show. That's what it was. Okay. I mean, he would have been kind of a name at that time.
Yeah, so he had his own chat show, and it was around. I don't know if Leno was on the Tonight Show at that point, but it was that kind of time, and he was a very popular media person around that time.
Oh yeah, I've seen him in plenty of things.
Okay, so what I'm going to do, let's go through the performances of the award ceremony. So of course, this is the bit that drew me in. This is the bit that got me here. And that was Van Halen's live version of Pound Cake. Now, we discussed Pound Cake a few episodes ago on my episode of The World Ending and how it was a song that I wanted to listen to. But I think it still holds up. I would find this episode on YouTube, find this video on YouTube. Arsenio Hall introduces it, and then they play Pound Cake. And Eddie's got all these huge guitar amplifier stacks up there, and he's playing his Music Man guitar, and Sammy's got his like 80s curly hair. And it was, I don't know, my universe changed at that point.
It was their epitome of their big hair moments.
Exactly. Michael Anthony has like a polka dot shirt, which is huge, black and white polka dots.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. And I actually saw them on the tour in 92. They played in Wembley Arena in London. And I saw that tour off the back of this, and I bought the album, and I don't know, my whole universe was waiting to change. There was Nebworth 90 when it was beginning to change, and by the time you got to this in 1991, my entire world had turned in on itself.
And I had learned how to say 3 words at that time frame. Sorry. All right. I'm here for the comedic timing, of course.
So the next live performance, maybe this is an act that you're familiar with, C&C Music Factory.
Yep. There's the Gonna Make You Sweat, and they're the ones that have the backup vocals with the ladies that they replace their singing. There's like some African American backup ladies who sing in the C&C Music Factory, and they body swapped them in the videos.
Oh, did they?
Mm-hmm. Yep. But I mean, I think Gonna Make You Sweat, Everybody Dance Now, all that kind of pumping up gym music or whatever.
Exactly. And they did a medley. They did Things That Make You Go, Here We Go, and Gonna Make You Sweat. They jammed in all their classics in this MTV Music Video Awards performance.
I mean, that's really all their songs, period.
And I mean, did anything become of C&C Music Factory? I really don't know.
They're used in sports arenas for the rest of their life. That's all I got. I'm sure it's been used at a football game or something.
Well, if they're getting their royalty, I mean, all is good. But I mean, I don't know what they're doing now.
I haven't heard a word from them. I don't think they're doing anything.
Well, if C&C Music Factory want to come on the show and tell us about what they've been doing since 1991, we'd be happy to have them.
I would be good. They're probably, like you said, Tim, they're probably just leaving out the royalties being played in every major sporting event since the beginning of the 90s.
That's true. The ones that don't have We Will Rock You or the void that's been left by the Gary Glitter songs, obviously, that you can't play. So maybe that's where C&C Music Factory came in. I don't know. I
was literally thinking the same thing, because that's all I ever think of when I think of Gary Glitter is, being used in sports. And then I'm like, well, they probably can't play him anymore for good reason. He doesn't deserve any of that. But anyway.
Exactly. Okay. So the next performance that we come on to is Poison, Talk Dirty to Me. Now, what's interesting about this is that C.C. DeVille, the guitarist from Poison, I think he was chemically assisted in this performance.
Mm-hmm. Remember, we talked, this was on my episode about weird, weird stage performances. I can't remember what we called it, but yeah.
Yeah. So most guitar players who are touring on the kind of level that Poison would have been touring at this point will use a wireless system for your guitar. And what that means, for if you don't know, you have a little pack that plugs into your guitar, and there's no cable between your guitar and your amp. And the idea being is you can dance around the whole stage, and you don't worry about getting tangled up, and you can run from one stage to the stage and the other and all that kind of stuff. I've used wireless systems. I had a bad experience performing the national anthem on Linda Jagger's roof when it cut out, and I vowed never to use them again. But that is a story for another time.
Very specific story, but yes, that makes sense since they're hopping all over the stage typically.
Yeah, but in this particular performance, C.C. DeVille decided not to use a wireless system and to use a cable, which is, again, lots of guitar players do that. Joe Bonamassa, he is a fabulous guitar player. He doesn't use a wireless system, he uses a cable. People say it sounds better. They prefer the way the response of the guitar. It's all good. But what you do, if you use a cable, you loop the cable through the back of your strap. So if you tread on your cable, guess what doesn't happen? The guitar cable doesn't come out. C.C. DeVille is dancing around. As I said, he's probably been enjoying the fruits of whatever he's had backstage, and he treads on his guitar cable, and this had a global audience of who knows how many millions of people, and he unpulls the guitar cable. And it goes very silent. And
there's a very awkward look between him and everybody else in the band. You've never seen this performance. It's an interesting one.
Exactly. And needless to say, that was the end of C.C. DeVille for quite some time. He was asked to leave Poison.
Yeah, that was when he finally got clean at some point, I'm pretty sure.
I think so. And then he ended up coming back, and Poison now are on the nostalgia circuit, and they get play state fairs and sort of these kind of nostalgic gigs with other bands of a similar era. So he's back in the band, and I'm sure he's probably in a better place, and he probably doesn't party as hard as he did.
And poor Bret Michaels, Tim, I swear everything that can go wrong to a person is went wrong to him.
Oh, I saw that video of Bret Michaels where he was walking off stage and a piece of scenery came down and he clonked his head right into it.
Well, there was that. We talked about this. And then, he had like a brain aneurysm, didn't he? And there was like another accident. I think he fell off stage once. I mean, Bret Michaels if it could happen to him, it would have happened to him. He's got my father's luck in that sense. But yeah, so I remember though, we talked about the one. What was it that happened to him recently? Didn't he have a brain aneurysm or something?
I think that was it. Yeah, I think you're correct.
Yeah. Like just I don't know if it was a freak brain aneurysm because, like you said, there was some chemical enhancements back in the Poison days. Could have been some residual chemicals, but still.
Sure, I know. A lot of bands have partied, and a lot of bands have partied hard, and most people are lucky and they come through the other side reasonably unscathed. But there are a few folks who did a little bit too much, and it didn't help them long term.
Well, and I don't know. I mean, people who don't party get brain aneurysms. They're kind of random.
Oh,
There's
sure.
no way to know.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's had some bad. So he's also had some bad luck with that too. And was it what words was I trying to say? When was it that the piece of equipment fell and hit him over the head? What concert tour was that?
I don't know. It was maybe in the last 10 or so years. I think it's certainly since I've lived here. And I've seen the video. He's walking off stage and then a piece of scenery comes down and he didn't know that it was there. And then he carries on walking and he just basically is at walking pace and he clonks his head into the scenery.
Yeah, they said that he had to be taken to the hospital immediately. But anyway, so that has nothing to do with CC DeVille. I just know that Bret Michaels has had some bad luck too.
There we are. Well, I hope they're all healthy and they're all in a good place these days. Our friends in Poison. Yeah.
I mean, I haven't heard anything out of him. Oh, Bret Michaels he was a banana on The Masked Singer, if anybody was wondering. And he plays a piano as a banana. And Sharon Osbourne figured out it was him almost immediately because, obviously the Osbournes have met Bret Michaels. They're friends, go way back. And she knew instantly it was him. But yeah, he was a banana.
Did you see Penn Teller on The Masked Singer?
And I thought about you because I was like, we finally got to hear Teller's voice.
I've heard Teller's voice. Right next to me. I've seen Penn Teller in Vegas 3 or 4 times on the occasions I've been there. And I've never actually met Teller at the meet and greet afterwards because when you see their show, they just wait in the lobby and you can meet them and they'll sign things and take pictures and there's no meet and greet ticket or anything. They just come out and if you want to meet them, you can, and if you don't, you can go and it's fine. It's just they just assume that's what you're supposed to do, so they do it, and they think it's terrible. All these acts upcharge for that.
Yeah.
So I've heard Teller at a distance talking to people signing autographs. So I've met Penn and chatted to Penn. But we was in the audience and they were doing a trick where somebody was being brought on stage and Teller came up to within 2 seats of where we were sitting. And he came up to somebody who said they wanted to be part of the act. And then I heard him say, "Oh, are you okay to come on the stage? Is that okay? Now it'll be about 10 minutes. Is that all right for you? And you're happy to do the thing and the thing?" And they went, "Yeah, that's fine. Okay, you can come up." And it's just this is weird. I've heard Teller speak on YouTube and on TV and stuff. And he did an NPR interview. But when you have Teller, the famous mute Teller, 6 feet from you talking, it's too much.
Well, I will say, I always think of Penn in a different way. I know you're a big Penn and Teller fan, but for me, the thing that I think of when I think of Penn is when he was on Sabrina the Teenage Witch. I don't know if you know that or not, Tim. He was the guy who guards or the main person of the other realm for the, and he had to, he was on the show all the time, but he had to when they would break rules and stuff, it'd be Penn. That's what he did. He was on Sabrina the Teenage Witch. And, he's got that big, deep voice. He's super tall. So they made him, and he was a judge of a sense. And he dated one of Sabrina's aunts off and on. So there was an untold romance. But yeah, so when I think of Penn and Teller, that's what I always think of.
I know he's on Miami Vice, and he has done lots of acting through his career, but I know Penn as being a magician and a very interesting guy, and his podcast, Penn Sunday School, is incredibly entertaining. His viewpoint on the world is very, very refreshing.
That's awesome. Yeah, they seem like really nice people when they talk, like just generally nice people. So that doesn't surprise me. But yeah, there's your hot 90s tip you didn't know. Penn was on, and I don't know if Teller was ever a guest star, but it wouldn't shock me.
Possibly. Well, here we are. All right, so the next one is probably more up your street a little bit. Mariah Carey singing Emotions.
And did you watch that? Have you seen that version where she sings it?
Yeah, I've seen the whole thing. I've seen all the performances many times.
So that is Mariah at the top Mariah. That is like known as one of her greatest, because her voice, when Mariah was top level Mariah, and we can get into what you feel about her now, and I don't care. She had a gorgeous voice and a great stage presence. There was a reason she's Mariah Carey, right? She's a diva for a reason. That episode is specifically that episode. That's not what I would say. That performance, I think, is top Mariah, 100%.
Yeah. I mean, it's a great performance, absolutely. But for me, top Mariah is her MTV Unplugged performance. And when she does that cover of I'll Be There, it is just amazing.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, she has. So what's very interesting, or what makes her singing so, I think, because when they talk about, 6 octaves, usually when someone can sing 6 octaves, they can't really do the top of the range very well at the bottom. Just because you can hit the note doesn't mean it sounds great, right? So with that being said, she can do it very well. And her transitions from top to bottom, it's so smooth. Like when she goes from head voice to chest voice, you don't hear a change up. So it is fantastic. Like for her ability to do that, to go from like up here to down here, and you never hear, it just sounds so easy. It's so majestic. That's why I think she's such a good performer. But anyway. Yeah.
And lately Mariah Carey doesn't have the magic that she did back then. I mean, it's, she's older. Obviously she's older, but some singers mature with age and their voices continue to be amazing. And I don't think Mariah is necessarily at peak Mariah anymore.
Well, she said there's a few reasons for it. One, improper vocal cord. She wasn't trained as a singer. That can ruin your vocal cords for life. The big one, though, that I've heard, and the one that I tend to subscribe to, is that she took a bunch of hormones because she was having fertility problems, and hormones affect your vocal cords. And so she wanted to have children. She has her twins, which is great for her because that's what she wanted. But by doing that, she took a risk because anything with testosterone, estrogen will mess up your vocal cords.
Sure. Oh, well, at least if nothing else, I hope Mariah is happy.
She really wanted to have kids, so I think it was what she wanted. Yeah, that's what I subscribe to. What happened to Mariah?
Okay. All right. So let's move on to the next one. So the next one wasn't actually performed at the event itself, but it was live, and it was from the O2 Forum in Kentish Town. It was then known as the Town and Country Club in London. And this was EMF and Unbelievable.
Okay, I can't hear that song without thinking of a stupid commercial, Crumbelievable. Do you know what I'm talking about, Tim? It might have just been an American thing, but there was a cookie commercial, and it was like, it's Crumbelievable. Oh, so now every time I hear that song, that's all I hear.
I have not heard that. I'm going to have to look that up.
That might be worth posting. But yeah, it's just, I don't remember. I think it was Chips Ahoy cookies. I could be wrong. But yeah, there was definitely a commercial in the 90s that used it. And all it did was the whole commercial was just like, it's Crumbelievable. Oh, da, da. That's all you heard. And now every time I hear that song, I can't unhear it.
I didn't know that. I really didn't know that.
It's true. Now I probably just unwoke a memory in a bunch of people's minds. They forgot that. They'll never. It's also, there was one that Vanilla Ice did. Oh, there was a Vanilla Ice commercial that he did with one of his songs about macaroni and cheese, I think. Oh, I got to think about that one. I'm going to have to think about that one. But when that song comes on too, I hear the macaroni and cheese.
I mean, some people would say this kind of stuff is selling out, but equally they have bills to pay like you and I. So, I mean, whatever.
I mean, let's be honest. Neither one of those artists are like selling out arenas at the current moment.
No, that's very true.
I can't now. All I hear is that stupid commercial in my head. I can't even tell you what the cookies were, but I will say it was an iconic commercial because 17 years later, I'm still thinking about it.
You're still thinking of Crumbelievable.
Did they ever have any other songs?
I don't know. I know Unbelievable. Can I see what other singles did they have? Unbelievable, I Believe, Children, Perfect. The only other one that they had, which was really well known, they did a cover of I'm a Believer, and that was with Vic Reeves and Bob Mortimer.
I kind of know I think I've heard it, but it's not something. Okay, I lied, Tim. It's not cookies. It's crumble sharp cheddar cheese. That was the commercial. I thought it was cookies, but apparently all I remember is them singing. I don't even remember the product, so maybe it wasn't that good of a commercial.
You just remember it was Crumbelievable. I can't even say it. Crumbelievable.
Oh. Anyway, yeah, I will let Tim hear the commercial after this episode, but apparently it was for cheese, not cookies.
There we go. All right, so let's move on to the next one, live performances. So we have Paula Abdul, and it wasn't Opposites Attract or Straight Up. It was her song Vibology.
I'm not even sure I know that song.
No, and as I was looking back through, I mean, I know nearly all of these performances because this is such an important event that I watch many times, and that's not one that stuck out. No, I wouldn't know that song if my life depended on it. I mean, you'd like to think that DJ Scat Cat would be involved, but I think he may have been elsewhere.
Well, and I mean, even if she didn't want to do that, there's got to be another song that's a little bit rare that we would at least heard of. But to be fair, Paula Abdul to me is more of a dancer and performer than she is a singer.
Yeah, well, she's known as a choreographer. That's what she was known for, and then of course dancing and that kind of stuff. But yeah, singing came later, and then after singing, of course, she was a media personality, TV personality, reality show. Yada, yada, yada type thing.
See, I'm Team Cold Hearted Snake. That's my favorite. And the choreography she does to it is amazing. Yeah,
Cold Hearted Snake is a great song. I like Straight Up, and I do like Opposites Attract.
Yeah.
The whole of Forever Your Girl album is fantastic.
It was. I mean, I would go see her live. Like, I'm not insulting her by saying I don't think of her as a singer. I think of her. There's a difference between a singer, though, and a performer, like an entertainer. She tends to fall under the entertainment side for me.
Sure. I mean, you would go to see Aretha Franklin because she is an amazing singer. You would have back in the day. But you go and see Paula Abdul to be entertained.
Exactly. And she went through some bad stuff. I think she was having a really hard time recently, but I think she's back on the up and up now. And I even think she might be touring again.
Well, there we go. Well, if we see that Paula Abdul is coming to the Roanoke Civic Center, maybe we will stop, but we'll get some tickets and we'll go and see what that's all about.
Maybe we'll figure out what Vibology is.
It's a classic. People love Vibology.
Sure, Tim.
Okay, so the next performance, now this is another favorite of mine, a band I hadn't really heard of until the MTV Music Video Awards, is Queensryche with their song Silent Lucidity.
Was it not a European thing, or were they mostly American? Because I've heard of them quite a bit.
Yeah, I think it was mostly American. The thing is, you have to understand, it's certainly at the time and when I was growing up, I always say this, there wasn't a lot of rock music in England. And I say that because you went through the radio dial and it was really just top 40 or classical or news. There wasn't really a rock station like you can go to here where you go through it. Every town has a rock station that plays AC/DC every third song. That didn't exist. And you may have had like some rock concerts, some rock music that would be shown on TV as a special once in a while, but it wasn't sort of ingrained in the culture like it is here. So Queensryche's Silent Lucidity, I'd never heard that song before. In fact, I'd heard of it before the MTV Awards because there was a Guitar World transcription for it. And I was looking through the tab and I didn't know how it went. And only when I heard it on there, I was like, oh, okay, well, that's that one and that's that one.
I'm glad you pronounced their name, though, because I don't know I've ever actually had to say it out loud.
What, Queensryche?
Yeah. They are American, though. I think they're from like Washington or something, even though their name doesn't look like it.
Yeah, but they have what's known as a heavy metal umlaut in their name, like Motley Crue and Motorhead. It's it was very fashionable for a while to have a German umlaut over one of the characters. Now, as you know, in certain languages, when you have those characters over letters, it makes the sound different. Like in Swedish, for example, if you have an A and there's a little circle over it, it's an or sound.
In French, they have two different ones. There's an accented groove, and then I can't remember what the other one is. And one's over U and one's over E. And it does the same thing. It changes the sound.
Yeah, but I think in the case of the heavy metal umlaut, it makes no difference. Like Spinal Tap, like Spinal Tap, which of course is a parody band, but there's plenty of umlauts in that name that really don't do anything other than look cool.
Oh yeah, I mean, I kind of rank them up there because they're more of a metal band, like they're like Iron Maiden, that kind of thing, maybe Blue Oyster Cult, Dio, stuff like that. That's what I kind of think of them in the genre of.
Yeah, I would say the Silent Lucidity is a really good power ballad.
Oh yeah, well, and they didn't have a whole lot of music. Well, not to me. I mean, I think they had a few songs that I would know, but they're not like, Metallica or something.
No, they had Eyes of a Stranger as another single of theirs. They've got albums and albums and albums out, and I think the singer left, and then he formed another band that was called Queensryche, and then the existing members continued with Queensryche, and then it became a whole thing like Bucks Fizz, but you probably don't know who Bucks Fizz are, so...
Not a clue. No idea.
It's a British band that won the Eurovision Song Contest, and then some of the members left, and the new members came in, and in the end, Bucks Fizz had no original members, and then there was another offshoot band of Bucks Fizz that had one member, and then there was some lawsuit that allowed both versions of Bucks Fizz to gig at the same time with the same name, and then one of them left. It was a whole thing. There was a documentary about it, and I don't know what's happened now, but 3 remaining members of Bucks Fizz are now called The Fizz.
Oh, I've heard of The Fizz.
Yeah, The Fizz was Cheryl Baker and what have you.
That I've heard of, but I didn't know the whole history there. Well, I didn't know that there was such a vast story to be told there. I mean, you know how it is, though, Tim. They always say they will perform again until hell freezes over. But then when money starts coming to them, hell freezes over real quick.
Exactly. Well, it's like the Black Crowes. Like the brothers Robinson said they would never play together again. In fact, they've never wanted to see each other ever again. And then their bank balances got together and decided they could be friends. I
mean, Metallica did the same thing. We've already talked about how Fleetwood Mac did the same thing.
Exactly.
They never wanted to see each other again.
Well, exactly as you just said, Eagles, exactly the same. They said hell would freeze over before they got back together. But I don't know. So the almighty dollar got together and decided they could be friends.
I'm just saying, hell freezes over real quick when the money symbols start getting low.
Yeah, I mean, I like to think I have a little bit of credibility in that respect. However, there are certain people I probably would never want to see again or play music with again. But I don't know, if the money was ridiculously right, I can get with anyone. I really can.
Tim's like, Joy, take a tambourine. We're going. I don't know what you can do, but figure it out when we get off stage. Anyway, all right.
All right. So the next one up is LL Cool J with Mama Said Knock You Out.
Which is like one of the only LL Cool J songs I actually know.
But the interesting thing about this performance, it wasn't live. It was taken from MTV Unplugged. Did you know LL Cool J did an MTV Unplugged?
I did not.
He did. Back when that was a thing, he did an MTV Unplugged. And it's Mama Said Knock You Out. And there's just like dudes playing acoustic guitar and like tambourines and stuff. And it's weird.
Well, and now LL Cool J is more of like an actor, isn't he? Isn't he like on like cop shows or something? Or like host TV shows or something? I
thought that was Ice-T, or do they both get involved with acting?
I think LL Cool J did. No, LL Cool J hosted that Jimmy Fallon's lip sync battles. That's what he was doing.
Ah.
Yeah, like he's not even, I don't think he's doing rap music anymore. I wouldn't know off the top of my head, but I think he's like become more. Oh, and he was on NCIS. That's what it was.
There we go. There we go. I do know one thing, that the ladies love Cool J. I do know that.
I mean, yeah, he's a pretty man. I'm not dissing him. I don't know why his mom wants him to hurt people though, but you know.
I don't know.
Can't answer these questions.
If he wants to answer some questions, he can appear at the beginning of the show like everybody else.
We've got a list going. Me and Tim just keep adding people. Someone come to the show.
Okay, so the next performance, and this was a great performance. Now, the song is hideously overplayed at this point, but at the time, I really enjoyed it. And then I think the performance they did at the MTV Awards still holds up. And this was Enter Sandman, Metallica.
I mean, it was in their peak, though, of Enter Sandman. And where we live at, we hear it even more because it's the Virginia Tech theme song thing, I think.
Yeah, so I think when the Virginia Tech Hokies, which is the local college football team, they come on to Enter Sandman, and it's a thing. And I think didn't even Metallica perform at Lane Stadium where the Hokies play, and they performed it live there once or twice?
Yeah, I think that they did. I heard something about that. Yeah, it's something about like when the Hokies enter the stadium, they start playing it and everybody starts jumping up and down. I've never been to a Hokie football game. I will never go to one, but that is what I have heard.
Yeah, I have no interest in US football. I don't dislike it like I dislike UK soccer, but I have really no interest to get involved in that. And all I know is that sometimes there's traffic in Blacksburg on a Saturday, and that's about all I know.
And then, or when you're trying to get home from work.
Yeah, well, luckily we're going away from Lane Stadium, so it's not too bad.
Yeah. I mean, me and Tim live near two major college campuses, so something's always going on around here.
Exactly. So because I had graduation recently, and when you drive into Blacksburg, which is where I work and where Joy used to work, they actually redid the road, so it's not quite as bad now. But you still get stuck in traffic on graduation day, and it can get backed up for miles and miles. I mean, for our UK friends, I mean, who have to suffer the M25 every day, or suffer the M3 or the M4 and that traffic jam, it's nothing. It's absolutely nothing. The fact that it might take me an extra 12 minutes to get to work is nothing. But I'm just saying, for living in rural Southwest Virginia traffic, this is big news.
It's the hot topic of the day, Tim. It took me an extra 3 minutes to get through that traffic light. Lord. All right. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I've seen that performance, though. It was a good performance. And like you said, I don't know that I ever want to actually hear Enter Sandman again. Not really.
No, it's not quite that Guns N' Roses song of which we never speak, but it's in that kind of era of music where I've heard it so much, it's too much. Well,
and I think the other thing is it's like that. It's that song that everybody knows from Metallica. Like you talk to anyone and that's the first song they're going to say, right? Mm-hmm. And it's like Metallica has a lot of good other songs that you just really wish people would listen to. At least that's the way I am.
Yeah, I mean, even off the Black album, I'd rather hear Sad But True. Or something like that, not Sandman. Yeah. But there we are.
Well, there's our hot take on another overplayed song.
maybe at some point we need to do Overplayed Classics Volume 2.
Yeah, we probably... I'll have to be thinking about that because I'm going to have a few episodes coming up. Tim, don't take it.
I'm not thinking anything, Joy. I'm not thinking anything.
I mean, yeah, but Master of Puppets is a really good album. I will say that.
Sure.
Probably the main one.
I mean, like Ride the Lightning and Justice for all great Metallica stuff. I mean, some of the early Metallica albums have no bass on them. Someone needs to remix them with bass. Oh,
yeah, you did say that. Was there a reason they didn't have bass?
I think it was just an artistic choice. I mean, the bass guitarist was there. I think it's not like the Cliff Burton era of Metallica, but I think it was just a production choice that it wasn't particularly bass heavy. What they would do is they'd scoop the guitars. You take the mid range out, which gives a very particular sound. And I think at that point they were scooping everything: drums, bass, the whole thing. And the net result is it doesn't have a big low end presence to it.
Huh. So that's why you can't tell it's there. Interesting. I mean, I guess it's an artistic choice. There you go, Tim. You could pull it off. Take a bass out, Tim, and just rewrite and re-record every Metallica song. Go. See how it goes
there we
for you.
are. Or you can go on YouTube where people have re-EQ'd it to put bass in it. Well, whatever you prefer to do.
Man, I thought it was an original idea. I was going to make you millions. You finally get somebody to carry your stuff into your gigs. All right, what's the next one?
Okay, so Don Henley appeared on this, and this was his solo song, Heart of the Matter.
I don't even know if I know that song.
That's a pretty good song. I mean, I know that song because for a period of time before I left England, myself and Paul Hogg from Rough Justice, we had an acoustic duo called Rough Justice Unplugged. It was a very short-lived project for maybe a year or two. He wanted to have some really nice experiences with me before I left. That was his justification of doing it. And he wanted to just me and him to go out and play gigs. But what happened is we played these places as a duo, and all everyone wanted was the Rough Justice rock band. That's what it boiled down to.
They're like, what's this guy? What's happening?
Yeah, what's happened if we want to hear you play AC/DC and stuff? So we did it for a while. It was a bit of fun, but then we put, the main Rough Justice band went out and did some gigs, and then it broke. Then when I say it broke up, Paul sort of decided he didn't want to do it anymore, and then he would do a one-off, and then he wouldn't want to do it anymore, and then he'd play some, and it went on like that until
those
I
darn
left.
musicians.
Yeah, until I left in early 2011, and we played the final ever Rough Justice gig, and that was the end of that.
So was it? I just have like an image of you two on stage, like doing your version of More Than Words or something. So how does this Don Henley song go? I'm trying to place it in my head, but it doesn't sound familiar at all.
Even as no anymore playing. Well, I guess a copyright strike. I don't know.
I don't know, Tim, because I didn't recognize it, so maybe not.
It's a good song. I like that song. It's a good song.
I don't know why. It seems like something I would know, but it just doesn't ring a bell.
I think it's also on the Hell Freezes Over Eagles live album. I think because it was around that kind of time.
No idea. Well, I mean, Hell Freezes Over and they can play together, but I still don't know the song.
Well, maybe if you're feeling mellow, Joy, just
I'll give it a listen.
Seek out that Don Henley song. As they say in the world, give it a goog.
I will give it a goog. All right. What's next?
Okay. So this, again, wasn't one that took place in the studio in Los Angeles. This was actually live from Wembley Stadium. This was this award show was a logistical
nightmare.
Yeah, with satellite links and goodness knows what's going on. But this was Guns N' Roses performing "Live and Let Die."
Well, I mean, I do know that song, which you were probably excited for that one because it was right up your alley at that time, I bet.
Yeah, absolutely. And Axl was probably, I think he was wearing a kilt. It was,
of course.
It was perfect.
But was he wearing a bandana? That's when you really know he's Axl Rose.
I think he's legally obligated to wear a bandana.
So he always has to wear a bandana at all times.
Yeah, there are certain laws that cover that stuff.
He actually is in every contract that he signs, must wear a bandana. We're not allowed to play. He's either always wearing and there's always like a sweater wrapped around him. You know what I'm talking about, Tim, or something like that. Because if he doesn't have a kilt on, he needs something else flowing. It's like a sweater.
Absolutely. I mean that's the thing, and he has to do his salamander dance
at least 3 times per show. There's like an actual card that's in the contract too. Yeah, it's to hire someone specifically to write all these obligations out.
I thought of seeing Guns N' Roses recently because they toured the US, I think just before the COVIDs, and then I think they kicked it off, a few months ago. Because I never saw them at their peak. I could have gone to Wembley Stadium to see them, and many of my friends did, but for whatever reason I didn't. And I thought of seeing them, but as with a lot of these big stadium gigs, I'm just getting too old really to get involved in that. It's like I'm going to pay $300-$400 a pop to stand in a field with 30,000 other people and see 2 little dots at the end of the field whilst watching a video screen. I mean, maybe the essence of this I'm missing out on, but I don't know whether I want to do that.
So I actually did just spend $300 on tickets for, it's called like Midland Music Festival, because My Chemical Romance and Fall Out Boy are going to be there. And there's a list of like 10 other bands. And I'm already sitting here going, should I bring a lawn chair? I'm like, oh, because it's like a full, like, event. There's going to have main stages, substations. It's in Atlanta, Georgia. We've been looking at some cool Airbnbs. Like, I'm going to make a whole event of it. But I'm already thinking, gosh, I wish I had a seat. You know what I mean, though? Like, I will say, when I went and saw Sum 41, my feet were killing me afterwards, Tim, because we were standing on like a grate. Mm-hmm. And like for what was probably 5 hours straight. And I'm like, I can't do this. I was sore for like 3 days straight.
I mean, like when I play a gig, I mean, over the course of the evening, I'm probably on my feet for 4 hours, maybe. Yeah. By the time you do 2 sets of an hour and a half, or maybe 3 sets, depending on where you play, and milling them out between that, I'm probably standing up for 4 hours, give or take. I mean, I'm used to that, but I don't know. Something about being at a gig and being sloshed around with other people standing in a field, I don't know. Yeah,
and it's always more awkward when you're not. Well, and when you're playing, your mind is on that. Whereas if you're in the audience, there's like so many other things going on that you're thinking about. Think about the guy beside you. Why is he coughing? You're thinking about, you know what I mean? The girl over here who's really drunk. These people are moshing over here. Please don't hit me. I will hit back.
Yeah, when you're playing a gig, you're in your own personal space, and you're in your own personal space that you've defined, because as we learned from a previous episode, you have to get there early to get the space on stage. But you've defined your space, and the only thing you got to worry about is like being too close to the singer or too close to the bass player or whatever. But it's fine. And even if you're on stage and you start feeling a bit weird, you could pull up a chair. It wouldn't matter. It's your performance. But like when you're standing up there, I don't know.
Well, I will say, when I was at the concert a few weeks back, we were right on front row, and there was a girl behind us who was trying to push to get to the front, and she tried to push past me, and I looked at her when I pushed back, and she walked away. I was like, I'm not the one. I'll push back. And she walked away. Tim, I'm not the one.
Joy doesn't play at those kind of things.
Well, I'm also like, there's a metal like thing in front of me. There's like, you're literally right here behind me. What much more can you get to? You know what I mean? What is your point here?
Sure. And then it becomes the whole crowd surging situation, which can be deadly. Yeah.
Well, and then we had tons of crowd surfers, and I refused to hold them up, Tim. Nobody wants to hold me up. I'm not holding you up. The crowd surfer comes past me. Good luck. You're probably going to hit the ground.
Anyway. I tell you, if you enjoy that and that's something that you like, you enjoy yourself. But I think that's a young person's game.
I would probably end up being dropped with my luck, Tim, in my track record of injuring myself, and end up with a broken arm and on TV somehow. That's the girl who tried to crowd surf.
I can tell you now, Joy, that is not for you. None of that stuff is for you.
Not even a little bit. No. Well, and I wouldn't like the idea of all random people in the audience just touching me in general. Like all the hands that touch you. No thanks.
No.
Too old for that. All right. I don't even remember what band we were talking about.
We were talking about Guns N' Roses and Live and Let Die.
We didn't speak anything about the song. Well, I guess we were talking about Axl Rose wearing a bandana, and that was the extent. All right, what's the next artist?
Okay, so the musical act that closed out the MTV Music Video Awards was Prince and the New Power Generation, and it was Get Off.
I mean, that's a favorite of mine and a great way to end a show.
Exactly. And I think, if I remember correctly, it was a whole production. Not only it was Prince with his live band, it was a whole stage production. It was a whole thing. And you find in some of these later MTV awards, they're focusing on the stage production, but the music is second. But in the world of Prince, you can guarantee that the music was the focus and the stage production was the thing as well.
Yeah, and that's what I think makes the difference with these artists that like we talk about, like the Princes and the Madonnas and the Michael Jacksons and the Elton Johns of the world. Yeah, they do a whole stage show, but music is what comes first. And that's really what makes them larger than life, in my opinion.
Exactly, 100%.
Because you can do all you want on stage, but if it sounds like you're a dying cat, I'm probably still going to leave.
Or as it seems to be common, is that they don't even sing; they just sing into a track.
Yep. And there is a time and a place for backing tracks. I will say certain arenas and things, you need some level of a backing track. The problem is when it all becomes backing track, right?
Exactly.
Because like if you're playing like a large stadium, Tim's kind of talked about the logistics of it because he understands it more than I do. I could see why sometimes a backing track could be necessary to some point.
Yeah, we've spoken about that at the Super Bowl shows, where sometimes it's not always practical to have a live act or live band, should I say, when your focus is on production. But, in the realm of someone like Prince, I couldn't see a world where Prince would be miming to a backing track because he's such a virtuoso musician.
Prince did the Super Bowl, and he did not have a backing track.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, Prince. Did you ever watch the Prince Super Bowl halftime show?
I did. It is amazing. He plays cover tunes. He plays a Foo Fighters song. It's great.
It's like he just walked up there and said, I'm going to play this today. Like, it's all random.
And there's a whole documentary on YouTube about it where like they woke up the day of the Super Bowl and it was supposed to rain, and then it was like the biggest thunderstorm that area had ever seen. And the guy who was producing the show called Prince in his hotel room at 7:00 in the morning and said, "Prince, do you realize it's going to be constant rain? It's going to be raining like we've never seen here." And he said, "Bring it on."
I mean, the show must go on. And I could see him somehow making rain look iconic for some weird reason. Like if I did it, I'd look like a drowning rat, but he'll probably make it look cool.
Well, he famously closes that segment with Purple Rain, and there was a slight reprieve in the rain, and then when he kicked up with Purple Rain, it started tipping down again, and it was just like you couldn't have planned it better than that.
I mean, he called someone. Prince probably has the weatherman on phone or something to make that happen. This is a very Prince thing to do.
Exactly.
The weatherman, Tim. I don't know who makes the weather.
It's Al Roker. He makes the weather.
Well, Prince had him on speed dial.
Yeah. And for our UK listeners, John Ketley makes the weather.
Oh, I don't know what that means.
That is a weatherman from the 80s who's probably long since retired. I don't know who does the weather now. Wincy Willis. No, that's probably equally as old as John.
So he's an equivalent to Al Roker. I see.
Yeah. I'm sure Al Roker... Does Al Roker even do the weather on the Today Show anymore?
I think he just talks. Like he's just like a talk guest host or something.
Oh,
I don't know. Idea. I haven't watched the weather in Lord knows how long, but for me, I always think WDBJ7 Robin Reed.
And we've covered Robin Reed. I have Robin Reed trauma. I don't want to retread that.
Robin Reed, if you're listening and you'd like to come on the show, Tim would like to have a conversation with you.
Yeah, I want to talk to you about that Billy Ocean gig at the Salem Civic Center in about 2012 or so. He will never
get over it. The high-end clientele that goes to see Billy Ocean.
It's not for them. That lady's all past. Yeah, those people up there, it's not for them.
No, it's not for them. Okay, well, with that, Tim, that was the final act, I'm guessing?
It was. So what I'm going to, just to close the episode, we won't go into these in detail, but I just wanted to go through who won the various awards on the year, the 1991. So your video of the year was REM's Losing My Religion. The best male video was Chris Isaak's Wicked Game, which interestingly had a different video for the UK and the US audience. Best female video was Janet Jackson's Love Will Never Do Without You, which is
Good
not
song.
a super familiar song from Janet Jackson. It's no Control on Nasty, I'll tell you that.
For Escapade.
Yeah. And the best group video was REM's Losing My Religion. They cleaned up a bit of these awards.
It was that year that song came out. It was huge.
Yeah. Best new artist in a video was Jesus Jones, Right Here, Right Now.
I mean, I still hear that song all the time, so...
Yeah, again, I don't know much else of their output, but that's the one that you always remember from them. The best metal hard rock video was Aerosmith's The Other Side.
I wouldn't have predicted that. Okay.
Yep, the best rap video was LL Cool J's Mama Said Knock You Out again.
There it is.
And the best dance video was, again, CNC Music Factory, Gonna Make You Sweat, Everybody Dance Now.
Well, it makes sense. Usually the people who are performing win as well. That's typical.
There we are. Jane's Addiction won the best alternative video with Been Caught Stealing. And the best video from a film, again, was Chris Isaac's Wicked Game.
I wouldn't have predicted that.
And then you get into the other things. Best long-form video, Madonna's Immaculate Collection. Breakthrough video, REM's Losing My Religion. Best director, Losing My Religion. Best choreography, CC Music Factory. And then you start getting into these like awards they probably didn't even have on the TV. Best cinematography, best editing, etc., etc.
Those people are like, we don't even get mentioned on the show.
Exactly.
Rude.
But there we go. So there we are. That was my wrap up on the 1991 MTV Music Video Awards, a pivotal show and TV program for me and probably of little consequence for everybody else. But there we are. That was my topic.
Yay. It was pretty fun. I mean, I hadn't thought about it in a while. I like how I kind of forgot halfway through what artists we were talking about. Yeah, that's typical. All right. And with that, bye.
See you later. Bye-bye.